Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into today's episode, I would like to quickly talk about one of the things in the Navbar CSS that we're going to be doing today. Because we're going to be having @media screens normally, we are not going to be including them inside of the actual video itself. @media tags I am not covering in the basics, and we will not cover them at all, I don't think, which means they are going to be cut out. The code for them will be on the GitHub page as soon as this video is live. Check out the GitHub for the media information that you need, which is the second half of the Navbar CSS file, as I did not think that putting it in the video would be useful to you all. So, without further ado, let's get into the episode. Hello everyone, it's Alex here from MenuDocs, and in today's episode we're going to be diving back into our Introduction to Web Development series. Today is episode 11, and we're going to be working on the JavaScript navbar. Now, we're getting really close to the end of the series here, guys, and I would like to thank you all for the huge amounts of support on this series. I looked back at the first episode today, and you all have smashed it. So, looking at what we're going to accomplish today, and this is the first time I'm going to do this, and the only time, is we're going to be having one of these nav bars that goes between our staff team and our home page. And all it's doing is just clicking back and forth. For this, we're going to need JavaScript and some styly CSS. So, let's dig into the code and see what happened. So guys, getting right into the action, we're going to be starting in our index.html file, and we're going to be starting by adding some HTML right now, and it's going to be to link to the CSS file that we need to make, which is going to be navbar.css. We also need to make a new folder. We need to name that JS. And inside of this folder, we're going to make a new file, navbar.js. And we will get into more JavaScript later on, but for now, we're just going to link these into here. So we're going to set a link, style sheet, CSS, navbar.css. And we also need our type, which I'm just going to copy from up here to save a little bit of time. And we also need our script tag. So we're going to go script, and we don't actually need anything in here because we're going to be sourcing this instead of typing this. Because if you do the type of JavaScript, then you can actually type it inside your script tag. But because we're going to be doing this in a separate JavaScript file, it's going to be a lot easier for organization. So now let's actually go into our navbar.css. In here we're going to be doing all of the CSS for the navbar and only the navbar. So let's get started. So we're going to do our .topNav class. And in here we're going to have our background color. It's going to be 333, which is just gray. And overflow, we're going to set to hidden. That just means if it spills over into the web page, you don't see it. It's just a cleanup thing. Now, for the first time in any of our CSS documents, we're going to hit tab. And we're going to do .topNav A. And because this is going to be for the active. So this is like the A class. And when we start getting into HTML, I'll start showing you how this interacts with each other. So we're going to float this to the left. We're going to display as a block. Our color. Ooh. That is WebKit things. No. Alright. Our color is going to be, I have all of this written down, F2, F2, F2. Our text align is going to be center. Our padding, we're going to give 14 pixels on the vertical axis, 16 pixels on the horizontal axis. Our text decoration is none. Our font size is 17 pixels. Peasy, that's not gonna work. And there we go. Now we're even going to hit tab again. So we're gonna do top nav A hover. So when you're hovering over the nav, and we're just gonna do, we're gonna set the background color is going to be DDD. Color is going to be black. And that's the hover. Top nav A active. Our background color is going to be an RGB, because we need to talk about RGB values here because we never did that. 40, 60 to 43. And that's just how you do RGB values, is you find your RGB, like get an RGB color wheel, find the values, put them in with their spaces in the order that they appear. It's nothing too crazy. And then we're going to color this white. And now we're actually going to step back in indentation. We're going to do top nav icon display none. And there we go. So guys, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I just pasted in the media screens and max widths and things. So you can pause the video now and type it all out here, or you can again go to the GitHub and copy it. It's all going to be there. Alright guys, so now we're going to go into our JavaScript file, and we're going to write the JavaScript before we start writing in the HTML elements. So if you don't know very basic JavaScript, then here's very basic JavaScript for web development. Web development, you aren't going to use a ton of JavaScript unless you're doing like React or Angular, or Ember, Vue, Scala, anything, like any of those frameworks. So if you're using it in the way we're using it, it's going to be very small. So, oh my god. So we're going to make a function of my function. And then we're going to set a var of x is equal to document.get element by ID, my top nav. And this is just simple if-then statements. X dot class name, and I'll show you how this all works once we get in there. If it's equal to top nav, x dot class name plus equals space responsive. Make sure you have that space before it for the JavaScript here. And then else x dot class name is equal to top nav. And there we go. That is literally the entire JavaScript file. It's really nothing fancy. And I didn't want to get too fancy with it. It's just going to be a navbar. So let's actually go into our index.html now. And let's actually write the HTML that's going to be talking to this. So we're going to have a div here. Our div is going to be a class of top nav. and the ID is going to equal my top nav. And this is important because the class goes to the navbar, and the ID of my top nav is talking about this right here for the navbar to the JS. Now, inside of our div here, we're going to have a link that's just going to go to right here. We're going to class it of active, and since we're in top nav, it's top nav A, because A is the first in the alphabet, A dot active, which is this, and this is what it's going to turn into. And in here, this is just going to be our home page. Now we're going to set another one of .pages/staff.html. This is not going to get the active class because this is the other page. And we aren't going to do modular in this. We're just going to hard code the activity or not. And then we're going to href Javascript void 0. And we talked about this. We talked about void 0 in a previous episode. Class icon on click equals my function, and then in the A, I class FA bars. There we go. And that is all of the code for the top nav. So if we go in here, and this is our list. So if we go into our index.html, you'll see, well, this goes away. It's not on the staff page, is it? But it is on the home page, but it's not on the staff page. So let's change that. And to do that, we're just going to copy this. We're going to go to staff.html, paste it up top here, and we're going to move the class active to there. We're also going to change a few things. In the home, we need to change this to ./index.html. And then in our href for staff, we need to change that to the hashtag. Everything else can stay the same. But we need to import our things up here now. So we need another link. We need our type, which I'm just going to copy from up here. Our href needs to be css navbar.css. And then we also need our script tag. And in our script tag, we're going to have our source is going to be .js/navbar.js. And that should be everything we need to import for this. If we save that, refresh our staff page, and bam! So now you have your working navbar between your home and staff. Now it's nothing fancy, but we will clean it up and make it look a little more fancy in the coming episodes. So guys, if you all enjoyed the episode, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. And of course, at the end of every episode, here's our advertisement from our partner, Oxide Hosting.
Today's video is proudly powered by our partner, Oxide Hosting. Get your products hosted by them with their cheap, reliable services. So what are you waiting for? Check them out in the description below.
Alright guys, so I will see you all in the next episode. Happy coding.